It all started innocently enough. My wife, Emma, had always been an open-minded, free-spirited person, the type of person who questioned traditional relationships, who believed in exploring the world on her own terms. So when she first brought up the idea of polyamory, I didn't think much of it. At least, not at first. I loved her, and I wanted to support her in whatever she wanted to explore. We had been together for 6 years by then, married for 3, and life had started to feel a little routine. The passion was still there, but the fire had dimmed, and I thought maybe polyamory could be the spark we needed to reignite it. She assured me that she loved me, that this wasn't about us not being enough for each other, but about expanding our horizons, living outside the box. And part of me agreed with her, or at least I wanted to. In the beginning, it seemed harmless. Emma would meet other people, and I would meet other people too. Friends, casual connections, nothing too serious. But as time went on, I realized that it wasn't so easy for me to separate my emotions from the idea of being with someone else. I wasn't as comfortable as I thought I'd be with the idea of her being intimate with other people. I couldn't shake the feeling of jealousy, no matter how much I tried to bury it. Still, I didn't want to admit that it was harder than I had imagined. I didn't want to disappoint her. One evening, Emma invited her best friend, Kate, over for dinner. I had met Kate a few times before. She was vibrant, charming, and the type of person who made friends wherever she went. She had been a part of our lives for years, and I never thought twice about our friendship. She was always there for Emma, and I admired her loyalty. That night, Kate stayed a little longer than usual. After dinner, we all sat around drinking wine, laughing at old stories, talking about our respective lives. I noticed something between Emma and Kate that night. It was subtle, but it was there. There was an energy, a closeness that felt different. They exchanged looks when they thought I wasn't paying attention. Their hands brushed each other when they reached for the same glass. It wasn't overt, but it was enough to make me uncomfortable. Still, I didn't say anything. I didn't want to rock the boat. A few weeks later, Emma and I were having one of our regular conversations about polyamory, how it was going, how we were feeling. I admitted to her that I was struggling with it more than I had let on. "I just don't know if I'm cut out for this," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "It's hard to watch you with someone else. It makes me feel replaceable." She reassured me, as she always did, that it wasn't about replacing me. It was about experiencing new things, about embracing freedom. But as she spoke, I felt a nagging discomfort in my chest. I didn't know how much longer I could keep pretending that this was what I wanted. A few days later, Emma asked if I would be okay with her spending the night with Kate. It wasn't the first time she'd asked, but this time, something in her tone made me pause. "I just want to be with her tonight," she said. "We've always been close, and I think we both need this." At that moment, I felt a rush of emotions, confusion, anger, insecurity, and yet I agreed. "Okay," I said, barely able to hide the bitterness that had started to creep into my voice. "Go ahead." It wasn't until they were gone that night that I realized just how much I had been lying to myself. I didn't want Emma to be with Kate, at least not like that, but I also didn't want to be the one to stop her. I had promised her I'd be okay with it, and I wasn't going to go back on my word, even if it killed me. I stayed up that night, pacing the house, trying to drown my thoughts in the silence. The next morning, when Emma returned, everything felt different. She looked at me, a soft smile on her face, but there was something about her, an energy, a confidence that felt unfamiliar. She kissed me gently on the cheek, a little too tenderly, and I couldn't help but feel a pang of jealousy, of betrayal. But I didn't say anything. I didn't want to seem insecure. After all, wasn't this what I had agreed to? Over the following weeks, I couldn't stop thinking about what had happened. The way Emma looked at me after being with Kate, the way she spoke about her experiences. It wasn't that I wasn't happy for her, but I started to feel more like a spectator in my own life. I was watching my wife become someone else, someone I didn't recognize, and the more I tried to push down my feelings, the more they grew. One evening, I was alone in the living room when I received a text from Kate. She wanted to talk. She said it was important. I hadn't expected it, but I agreed to meet her at a nearby coffee shop. We sat down at a corner table, and for the first time, I saw something in Kate that I hadn't seen before. Vulnerability. She looked at me, her eyes soft, her usual confident demeanor replaced with something else, something I couldn't place. "I think you know this already," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "But I care about you, more than I should, and I can't keep pretending like it's nothing." The words hit me like a freight train. I hadn't expected this. I hadn't expected Kate to be the one to change everything. I thought I could control the situation, that I could handle polyamory. But in that moment, I realized I had fallen for her. I had fallen for the one person I wasn't supposed to. And it was the most dangerous thing I had ever done. I didn't know how to respond. All I could think about was Emma, how she had opened the door to this world, how she had pushed me towards something I wasn't prepared for. And now, here I was, caught in a web of emotions, tangled between love, guilt, and desire. The rest of the conversation was a blur. I don't remember what was said exactly, but I do remember that when I left the coffee shop, I was different. I wasn't sure where this would lead, but I knew that I couldn't go back to the way things were before. That night, Emma and I had one of the hardest conversations we'd ever had. I told her everything about Kate, about how I had fallen for her, about how I couldn't pretend anymore. She didn't say much at first. She just listened, her face a mixture of hurt and resignation. When she finally spoke, she said, "I never wanted this for you, but I guess we're both learning that we can't control everything." And just like that, the life we had built together started to crumble. What came next wasn't easy. There were a lot of tears, a lot of painful realizations, and a lot of questions we didn't have answers to. But in the end, I had to admit that I couldn't keep lying to myself. Emma wanted freedom, and I wanted love. And somewhere along the way, those two things became incompatible.